Good evening and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We'll begin our meeting with a prayer and pledge by Mayor Pro Tem Amos O'Neill.
Let us pray. Gracious God, our Father, we thank you for this evening. We ask your blessing on this meeting. We ask your blessings on the city manager and staff, mayor and council, and all the citizens of this great city of Saginaw. Help us make the right decisions that will impact the city and move us forward. This we ask in your name. Amen. Pledge allegiance.
To our city clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Tibbs. Councilwoman Bench. Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill. Councilman Coloris. Councilwoman Moore. Councilman Balls. And Councilman Clark is also absent. Mayor Browning. We have 7 members present and 2 absent.
Thank you. Before we go any further, let me remind the audience to refrain from speaking, cheering, booing, rude or obnoxious behavior during a council meeting. This is a good time for you to pull out your cell phone and silence it for us, please. I don't want to embarrass you during the council meeting. It's always the challenge to see which one of the council members are going to forget also. So we'll see what happens tonight with that. And we are now at,
Announcements, Mayor.
thank you,
I do have a few.
thank you.
I'd like everyone to know that curbside recycling has been upgraded to include more materials, and it eliminates the sorting requirements. For complete details, visit the city website at saginaw-mi.com. Also, as a reminder, our curbside yard waste pickup program has started April 1st. That will continue through November. And this Saturday, the waste collection convenience station will be open to the city residents for disposal of items such as building materials. And an event by the Green Team, which they're hosting, it's called Go Green. It's a celebration here at City Hall in the council chambers. It will be held on Tuesday, April 14th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's titled Back to Basics. Demonstrations will be shown at 11:30 and again at 12:30 for home energy tips, composting tips, removal of personal information from your hard drive, computer, and electronic equipment. Mayor, that concludes my announcements. We do have 2 proclamations tonight. Our first proclamation is declaring April 22nd, 2015 as Arbor Day.
Okay, and we have a representative to receive that today. Is that correct? Beth London? Oh, thank you, Beth. Thank you very much. So we have a Arbor Day proclamation that I would like to present at this time. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Moton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska and is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoils by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, and for our fires. Trees are also increase property value, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. The City of Saginaw would like to recognize trees for the Tri-Cities that was established in 2008, and since its inception has planted over 463 trees in various locations that include Jesse Rouse School, Ojibwe Island, Heritage Square, Adams Boulevard, Deindorfer Street, Delaware Boulevard, and Ezra Russ Street in the city of Saginaw. Whereas trees provide numerous aesthetics and economic benefits, in which Trees for the Tri-Cities has made a significant investment in the community by purchasing, planting, watering, and nurturing trees in the city of Saginaw to improve the quality of life for city residents. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Trees for the Tri-Cities has collaborated with the city of Saginaw and committed to monitoring trees and replacing trees that were lost in various locations that include Ojibwe Island, Deindorfer Park, Adams Boulevard, Heritage Square, and Delaware Boulevard. In 2014, the city of Saginaw Street section of the right-of-way division also planted 117 trees, pruned 291, and removed 359 trees. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Dennis D. Browning, Mayor of the City of Saginaw, do hereby proclaim April 24, 2015 as Arbor Day in the City of Saginaw. Encourage all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to plant trees that help beautify our city, protect our environment, and preserve this precious earth for the future generations. I invite all citizens to join us in the council chambers of City Hall on April 14th, 2015 at 11 a.m. for the 6th annual Green Team Celebration in observance of this day, and to learn more about recycling and caring for our environment. And in witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Saginaw to be affixed this 6th day of April in the year of our Lord, 2015. Signed, Dennis D. Browning, Mayor. I have council members Amos O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem, Michael D. Balls, Annie Bench, Larry Caloris, Daniel Fitzpatrick, Floyd Clock, Brenda F. Moore, and Damon Tibbs. Also, Timothy Morales, City Manager. Thank you, Beth. I'd like to present this to you. Would you come up?
Thank you, Mayor Browning and council members. I accept this on behalf of the city, and I believe that trees do enhance the quality of life. And I think anytime we can plant more trees in the city, it's a great thing. And we are trying also to plant more trees on our street projects. But thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Mayor, our last proclamation this evening is declaring April 7th, 2015 as National Service Recognition Day. And with us, we have Susan Furlow. She's the Director of Saginaw County Foster Grandparent Program.
Susan, want to come up to the podium? And I'll read the proclamation first. After that, then we'll give you a chance to say a few words for us, okay? So let me start with the proclamation. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges. Many of our nation's mayors are looking to national services and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet city needs. And whereas national service expands economic opportunities by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. National service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact. And whereas the Cooperation of National and Community Service is a federal agency that engages more than 5 million Americans in service throughout AmeriCorps, Senior Corps, the Social Innovation Fund, and the Volunteer Generation Fund, and leads the President's national call to service initiatives, United We Serve. And whereas participants in AmeriCorps and the Senior Corps address the most pressing challenges facing our cities and our nations, participants demonstrate committed dedication and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to serve, a commitment that remains with them in many future endeavors. And whereas participants who volunteer in programs such as the Foster Grandparent Program are able to make a significant difference in the life of at-risk youth. The guidance and support these foster grandparents give to these children enable the students to succeed in school and receive the necessary tools to become productive citizens. And whereas the Corporation of National and Community Services shares a priority with mayors nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with the National League of Cities, City of Service, and mayors across the county to recognize the impact of service on the Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service on April 7th, 2015. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Dennis D. Browning, Mayor of the City of Saginaw, on behalf of my fellow council members and the citizens of this community, do hereby proclaim April 7th, 2015 as National Service Recognition Day. In the city of Saginaw, encourage all citizens to recognize the positive impact of national service in our cities and to thank those volunteers who serve. We offer our deepest appreciation and gratitude to all volunteers for the powerful transformation they have made in our city and in numerous lives throughout our community. Further, I urge all citizens in the city of Saginaw to find a way that they also can help others and give back to their community. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Saginaw to be affixed this 6th day of April in the year of our Lord 2015. Signed, Dennis D. Browning, Mayor. Council members Amos O'Neill's Mayor Pro Tem, Michael D. Balls, Annie Bench, Larry Caloris, Dan Fitzpatrick, Floyd Clock, Brenda F. Moore, Damon Tibbs, and City Manager Tim Morales. Congratulations and thank you. We'll pass this out to you.
I would just like to thank the council and the mayor for recognizing the Day of Service, and also just make mention that you're recognizing one of your own because Annie has been on in Vista. So this day is for her too tomorrow. So thank you so much.
Mayor, our next order of business is public hearings.
And before we start our public hearing tonight, the purpose of a public hearing is for the public to address council as a whole and for council to receive comments for consideration at the time action may be taken. Public comment shall not be addressed to individual council members, city staff, or the audience. Speakers must limit their remarks to the subject of the hearing. Begin by stating your name. The main presenter will be allowed 15 minutes. Other speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Speakers may ask general questions but shall not ask questions of the specific council members. Madam Clerk, Our public hearing today is on.
To establish an obsolete property rehabilitation act district at 3430 State Street.
And is there anyone here to speak, reference the public hearing on the obsolete property rehabilitation act district at 3430 State Street? Just step up to the podium, please. Please introduce yourself and then your comments.
Hi, my name is Anthony Denha. I'm the gentleman here to request an opera for 3430 State Street. Would you like me to go into the purpose?
This is yours.
Okay. So we are, it is, if you're familiar with the property, it was a former Kroger on State Street. We have a current tenant that is currently there, which is Family Dollar. There's about 25,000 square feet of vacant space that was left vacant when Kroger vacated the property approximately, I'd say, 8 to 10 years ago. Since then, there's been no work done to that side of the building. So what we are trying to do is to market it to other possibly tenants such as grocers, pharmacists, any types of services that would be good for the area, hoping to, get employment, things like that. The main purpose for the opera is we're looking to invest, depending on the type of tenant, anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000 into that space. Also, by having an opera, it's going to give us a incentive with the taxes, allowing us to be more aggressive on a tax rate, making the property more marketable to tenants that we are trying to approach. So that's the overall goal with trying to get this opera. So I would, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'd be happy to answer.
Council members, any questions, reference out the site? Any questions? Councilman Ball.
So I see we got a copy of the work that you guys are planning on doing.
That's correct.
So you plan on having this done by September?
Well, yes and no. Right now we have 3 potential tenants that are interested in the property. We have nothing that's concrete as of yet, but as soon as we do, depending on the tenant, so let's say we were to secure a grocery user to go into that space, they may require us to provide HVAC units, drywall, flooring. It just kind of depends on their I guess, scope of work. But ideally, when you're dealing with a tenant like a grocery user, they want to make you put that in a vanilla box condition, and that would require us to drywall the entire space, lay down flooring, put HVAC units, put all new lighting, all new electrical, so the work can easily range from, for anywhere from the low end of $250,000 to the high end of $500,000, depending on their requirements.
Okay. We appreciate your investment in the city of Saginaw. I hope you get a lot of tenants.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your support.
Any other questions for our main presenter? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak on the obsolete property rehabilitation act at 3430 State Street? And third and final time, is there anyone else to speak? Reference the obsolete property rehabilitation act located at 3430 State Street. Being none, what's your pleasure, City Council? We have a motion to close the public hearing and support it. Any discussion on the motion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
We're now at personal appearances.
For personal appearances, before we start, the purpose of the personal appearance is to address council. Speakers shall address their remarks to the council as a whole. Remarks shall not be addressed to individual council members, city staff, or the audience. The speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Speakers may ask general questions about the topic of their presentation. Questions will be referred to city staff for appropriate follow-up. Speakers shall not ask questions of specific council members. The purpose of a city council meeting is to discuss city business and not to deal with individual personalities. Personal abuse of attacks, slanderous, or profane remarks about any person shall not be permitted. Violation of these rules will be considered a breach of order for which the speaker's appearance will be terminated. Refusal to yield the floor will be considered a breach of peace and subject the violator to removal from council chambers. If this is your first time with a personal appearance, please do not think us rude, because we will not be answering you, nor will we be asking you any questions. Simply make your statement, and all questions will be referred to our city manager for follow-up. So just want to give you a heads up on that, especially those in the audience for the first time saying, these guys are just sitting here not doing anything. That's what the purpose of a personal appearance is for. So with that, Madam Clerk, let's
Thank you.
start our personal appearance.
Yes, our first speaker is Randy Bartlett.
And just so you know, this is my first time here, so, all right. My name's Randy Bartlett. What I'm here for is the non-owner occupied dwelling renewal fee. And I just feel like it's an excessive fee just from the surrounding areas, what they charge. For instance, Saginaw Township charges $10 for the year, and it doesn't matter how many properties you own, it's only $10, because we've made the mistake of sending more money in, they've sent it back and said, no, we don't care how many properties you have. And another property is, Buena Vista doesn't have any fee. Bridgeport doesn't have any. And let's see, I had one other one here. Carlton Township's also $10. And the other thing was I feel there should be a grace period if somebody's going to be late. And personally, this is the first time we've actually been late. And the only reason it was we sent it in the mail, had the wrong address on it. We sent it to the old post office box because it's in our computer with the post office box that you guys used to have. And I know that's been a while, but it was in our computer. And so my complaint there is that we've actually got proof that it was mailed out on the 7th. We didn't get it until after we got back because we were out of town, and it was late then. And I just feel like there should be a grace period there because it goes from $50 to $100. And we just feel like that's kind of excessive. That's all I got to say. Okay, thank you.
Next speaker is Michael Lewis.
Good evening to the Honorable Mayor Dennis Browning and the rest of the fellow council members. My name is Michael Lewis II. I attend Arthur Hill High School. My college goals are to earn a double degree in dentistry and business management at Michigan State University this upcoming fall. My GPA is a 3.5, and my hobbies include playing sports, reading, and creative writing. My personal motto, Proverbs 10, verse 9, he that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known. My community service includes helping out by getting back to community, helping an elderly person in the neighborhood or not, and also caring for a disabled family member, which is also my little sister. I attend the Service Center of Attraction Outreach led by Pastor James Glenn. My parents are Michael Lewis Sr. and Hazel Lewis. My counselor, Alex Hoopus, and my principal, Priscilla Roby. Also, we would like to invite you to the Mayor's Ball on April 25th, Saturday at 6 p.m. at the Horizon Conference Center. And I thank you for giving me the time to talk at City Hall. I thank you for your outstanding work. And we will also be honoring the Honorable Mayor, Dennis Browning. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mark Oberschmidt. Mark Oberschmidt.
Good evening, council members. My name is Mark Oberschmidt. I live at 404 South Granger. I want to comment on this ordinance that you're proposing to put through tonight or pass on to vote on next week. One thing that isn't here that Mr. Bartlett has mentioned is that there's included in here that there's 100% penalty if you pay your rental registration a day late. 100%. There's no other entity in the city, there's nobody that deals with the city, as far as I know, that is charged 100% for being a day late. I think that's just not right. And why would you pick out the landlords and say because you didn't get your money in time, we're going to charge you 100%, whereas any other tax bill or anything else is given a fair rate. So I have a few comments and concerns about the ordinance put before you tonight concerning landlords, their properties, and the tenants. Landlords Association was asked to participate to get our opinions on the ordinance. The Landlords Association in Saginaw has roughly 500 members. None of our suggestions were drafted into this ordinance. We sat for many, many hours with all you folks, or some of you folks anyways, to have nothing that we said have any effect on this, I do believe. The ordinance attempts to fine landlords for someone else's behavior. If this is all it takes to make people accountable, I have an idea. Mind you, none of the people sitting on the other side of the table were landlords or have very little knowledge of what it takes to be a landlord in the city of Saginaw. I'm going to confess that I am not an attorney, but here's my idea. When you're taking on a criminal client, I want you to have him sign an affidavit that he will not lie, act up in court, beat someone up in jail, or threaten anyone. If he does, we should hold you accountable and fine you depending on the violation. This way, court will run smoothly, people won't perjure themselves, and the police at the jail will have nothing to fear. Like I said, I am not an attorney, but this sounds great to me. I think it should be a wonderful ordinance, and that way we can make our court system run a lot smoother. Along with this is the fact that the head city inspector does not have the money or the manpower to totally enforce this. This gets back to the passing ordinances, but not having the funds to enforce it. The other concern that has been voiced is the ACLU is looking at this from the tenant's perspective of not reporting abusive behavior to the authorities for fear of losing their home. I'll finish this up very quickly here. As always, anyone with a problem can call the Landlords Association here. And I just think this is a poor attempt to cure Saginaw's ills on the backs of the landlords. Thank you for your time tonight.
Speaker is Alan Butler.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm here today in regards to the crime-free lease addendum. I am currently a landlord here in the city of Saginaw. As far as the crime-free lease addendum, as landlords, we obviously do put a lot of those things in our lease agreement as far as as far as crimes not to be committed on our property. On one respect, I do think it is a good idea because having something that's approved by council and giving it to our tenants, it will hold more weight than me just saying it myself. Hopefully it will deter illegal activities, not guaranteed. But also, as well as hearing some of the other landlords speak, I am against the whole 100% fee for registering your not owner-occupied property a day late. So just wanted to come and voice my concerns. I do support the crime-free lease addendum, but there are some corrections that can be made. Thank you.
There is Kim Notelfer.
Good evening. My name's Kim Notelfer. I've been a resident of the city for a little over 40 years and a member of the Covenant Neighborhood Association. And I'm here to support the crime-free lease addendum. Within our boundaries of our association, there's over 400 rental properties, and that grows every day. And along with that, the percentage of problems that come from those seems to increase. around the block from me, we've got, I can give you a lot of different, for instances, but one lately, we had 30 police calls to the property within 12 months and couldn't get things resolved. The neighbors wrote the landlord in hopes that he would help us. He was kind of defiant, and that didn't work. And so we were going to, the city got involved with it on the landlord end to see if they could resolve it. They didn't have any luck with it. We're going to do an ordinance, a nuisance ordinance, but the people that lived there, when they found out people were calling the police, were walking through the neighborhood wanting to know who was calling the police. And so we needed 5 signatures. We kind of couldn't get that after they were kind of trying to find out who was calling. And so at the end of the day, it took a long time, but, we were able to, with the city's involvement, get it shut down. But as I understand, as I've read this addendum, that 30 calls would have been down to 3. And I know that the city doesn't have the amount of police department that we used to. And so I know that kind of overburdens them. And then the landlord, at least at some point, would have been held accountable after the 3 tries to resolve the issue with the tenant. And, that would have kept us from sending letters and the city being involved. So I hope you support this. Our neighborhood associations need it. They're behind it. And I think it's just another tool that we need to make these neighborhoods much more family-friendly. We need to kind of get back to that. When we moved in the 70s, we've kind of moved away from that, and I'd like to get back to where we see more families in our neighborhoods. Thank you for your time.
Have Kalisha Ewell.
Hello, good evening to the Honorable Mayor Dennis Browning and council members. My name is Kalisha Ewell. I am a senior at Saginaw High School. My college goals are to attend Eastern Michigan University in the fall and to go to medical school to become a pediatrician. My GPA is a 3.9. My hobbies are reading and writing. My personal motto is put God first and everything else will fall into place. My community service is at the NAACP and some volunteer work at St. Mary's Hospital and Covenant Hospital. That's all.
Here is Katharina Gray.
Good evening, Mayor Browning and council members. My name is Katharina Gray, and I attend Saginaw Arts and Sciences Academy. In the fall, I plan to attend Central Michigan University for their biochemistry program. I attend First Congregational Church, and my parents are Nikolai and Ann Bench. I look forward to honoring you at the ball. Thank you so much.
Speaker is Barbara Weiss.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm here on the Landlords Association. Barbara Weiss, Reed Street. I'm here on the Landlords Association, or the addendum. I live on Reed Street. I've lived there now for 47 years. Out in my neighborhood, there is, in my block, there is 5 rental houses. Needless to say, we have a lot of trash and different things. I'm not saying every landlord is like this, but they have to start taking this as a business And just like we have the businesses, they have to take care of the businesses in town. These people that are owning and renting these houses out should take care of the houses and find out what's going on in them. They just take the rent and they don't realize all the confusion and stuff that we have going on. I have a house next door to me that's been abandoned and condemned for 3 years. And it was a joint drive. It dealt me, I was in front of this council so much for a while that it was ridiculous. But they finally condemned it and the people moved out. Now it sits empty, falling apart. Windows are open. The back door is boarded up, but that's all. They told me for a while that the taxes weren't paid in it, but then they called and said, yeah, the taxes had been paid. Or no, the taxes were not paid. And I want to know why the landlords don't have to pay the taxes on these houses, but we have to pay taxes on our houses. And I think it's time that the landlords take the houses that they are renting and use them as a business like they're supposed to be, and pay the fees and do the different things like we have to do as homeowners. Thank you.
We have Debbie Melkonian.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you had a nice Easter. Councilman and City Manager and Mr. John Stempel should have received by mail a copy of the endorsement letter, which the neighborhood associations have signed, giving their endorsement of the crime-free lease addendum. Not all were able to be present this evening, but trust me, on the 20th, we will have a showing from every neighborhood association that has signed this letter. About a year ago, I wrote a letter to the NAG committee and asking for support of the crime-free lease addendum. And funny that the council met on April 7th, and Councilman Timms recommended or described this ordinance to council. At that time, a subcommittee was asked to be formed, and I was a participant of that subcommittee. We've met several times, rehashed this agreement, which is a simple addendum which a tenant would have to sign if this became an ordinance. Currently, there are 612 unregistered properties in the city of Saginaw. Right now, 132 of these properties have now been registered. Wouldn't it be great that if this ordinance were to pass, that each of these landlords would have to attach this addendum to the lease that they provide to their tenant? One of the comments that were made by the Landlords Association spoke to the fact that landlords shouldn't have to govern their properties or the tenants that live there. Well, I don't think it would be a matter of governing. If they were to visit their properties at least once a month and collect a rent check rather than getting it direct deposited to their accounts, they would be able to see the condition of the home that they are renting, how it is being maintained, and chat with their actual tenants. Also, the new system that is in place now where landlords do receive an email regarding any violation that's been made on the property when a police report was written, and if they were to review those emails, they would be able to note that there are problems at their properties. So I think it's a matter of landlords being able to govern their own properties in the sense of visiting them more regularly and holding their tenants accountable. That's strictly good business management. I do hope you consider this evening, and we will be back on the 20th. Thank you.
Shayla Norwood.
Good evening to the Honorable Mayor Dennis Browning and Council Member. My name is Shayla Norwood, and I am a senior at Saginaw High School with a 3.0 GPA. I am a member of the National Honor Society, where I serve as secretary. I am a part of the student council, and I am in the top 20 of my class. This fall, I plan to attend Saginaw Valley State University and major in political science and minor in business. Then I will go to law school and would like to become a family attorney. I love to write, read, scrapbook, and spend time with family and friends. I attend Victoria's Believers Ministries, where I faithfully serve as director over the God Chasers Liturgical Dance Ministry, and I have been a dancer for 9 years. I am also a part of the Ivolet Youth Group, which is sponsored by Alpha Kappa Alpha Eta Upsilon Omega Chapter Sorority, where I have served as secretary for 4 years now. Through this amazing group, I have participated in many community service, such as Zubu, Cold Shoes Giveaway, Salvation Army, the Christmas store setup, and the MLK Global Region event. In conclusion, I would like to say thank you to my former first female mayor and to the founder of the scholarship, Mayor Wilmer Hale Mixie. And that's it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gabrielle Dosel.
Hi, good evening to the Honorable Mayor Dennis Browning and council members. My name is Gabrielle Dosel. I go to Arthur Hill High School for half the day, and then I go to Saginaw Arts and Science Academy for the rest. My college goals are that I plan to attend SVSU in the fall for a degree in nursing. I have a 3.4 GPA. My hobbies are, well, my main hobby is writing. I write poetry, but I also play the violin. My awards I've gotten so far: Scholastic Silver Key in writing, Michigan History Day District finalist. I have a varsity letter in soccer. I'm also part of the National Honor Society. I have a medallion for academic achievement. My personal motto is, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. For my community service and my affiliations, I've done youth group for about 7 years. I volunteer and help out there. I've also helped out with the UAW, and we've helped people with disabilities. We've actually built ramps for them in the city recently. I'm also a member of the National Honor Society, and I'm also president of the Latino Action Club at Arthur Hill High School. Each organization does events to help the less fortunate. My church is St. Joseph's Rainbow Parish. My parents are Amy and Manuel Dosel, and that's all. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Niara Owens.
Good evening to the Honorable Mayor Dennis Browning and to all the City Council members and the ones that are absent. My name is Niara Owens. I attend Saginaw Career Complex and Saginaw Arts and Sciences Academy. My college goals are attending College for Culinary Arts at Kendall College in Chicago, Illinois, or the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. My GPA is a 3.6. My hobbies are singing, doing makeup, keeping up with fashion trends, working and practicing my culinary skills. My personal motto is, let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer, and let faith be the bridge you build to overcome evil and welcome good. My community service and community affiliations include being a member of Bold, Beautiful, and Blessed, which is called B3. I'll be volunteering for the Youth First program and Jones Avenue Clothing, that's a business here in Saginaw, and Covenant Hospital. And I just recently participated in a statewide competition where me, along with 3 other classmates, placed second in the state for restaurant management. The church I go to is Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church. My parents are Monique and James Owens. My principal is Meloretha Moses Johnson, and my counselor is Cynthia Kuhn. We will be honoring Mayor Dennis Browning at the Horizons Conference Center. The address is 6200 State Street in Saginaw, Michigan. Thank you all so much for allowing me to speak tonight.
Next, we have Dylan Valade.
Good evening, Mayor Browning and the council. My name is Dylan Valade. I own a communications company in Petoskey called SunGem, and we were at a conference for the Michigan Municipal League, of which City of Saginaw is a member, and we were doing market research there to find out how connected the communities are to their constituents. We've also been doing a similar survey to find out what constituents feel about their elected officials, and we'll release that report a little later this year, but it's interesting. We also provide a painting to draw attention to our exhibit while we're there at the conference. It's something fun to do that gets people talking about something that's not normal business, kind of like this right now. And Councilmember Balls actually won the drawing for the painting, and I don't want to address him personally, but he is the winner, and we're here to present it.
Accept that picture on Councilman Ball's behalf. I will accept that.
Here is John Ackland.
Yeah, my name is John Eckman. I want to complain about the roads, the potholes. I come down by old Saginaw, Mel Iron, planting my tires, my rim, and I come here to find out what they're going to do about it. They can't do nothing. I got to fix it myself. I had to. But man, these holes are getting back worse out there. I don't see no trucks out there patching them or nothing. I don't like to know why they ain't doing it. I see them driving around, but they ain't patching. They're just driving around out there. So something got to be done. Them roads are getting bad out there. Thank you.
Mayor, our next order of business is remarks of council.
Thank you, and I'd like to remind council members that you are limited to 5 minutes. I didn't mean to limit you on that. And tonight, if I find my cheat sheet, we will start with Councilman Balls will start us off tonight.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank the citizens for showing up for this council meeting. It's good to see the ex-mayor here and bringing all the students here for the awards banquet that she gives, which she gives scholarships up every year. I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to give students scholarships to go to school. And hopefully those students will come back and make Saginaw a beautiful place to live. I like to thank the people at the conference I was at in Lansing for awarding me with this beautiful picture. The guy took 2 days to paint that, and when they said I won, I couldn't believe it. So I told my wife about it, and I said, maybe I donate it to the mayor or something like that. And she said, no, make sure you bring that home, so you won't be getting it. So I tried to get it to you, man, but it didn't work. So I did try. So I attended the event last Saturday or last Friday at the Saginaw Valley for the Women of Color, and they recognize a lot of people there for awards for what they're doing for the city of Saginaw. They awarded Paradise Funeral Home for the great work that they're doing down there and all the donations. The director there, Mr. Phillips, he does a lot of charity work in the city of Saginaw. So I'm not going to tell you to patronize him anytime soon, but if you have to, that'd be more than fine to do too, but he's a great guy. And the Ford dealership, he was there too, and he does a good job in the city of Saginaw too. And a lot of other people was there for awards for what they do in the community. It's just amazing to see that that organizations recognize what people do in this community. There's a lot of people doing a lot of charity work and to make this place a better place for all of us to live. You know, it's like the people there for the grandparents and stuff like that. It's a beautiful thing when you give. It seems like the more you give, the more you receive. You know, and it seems like the more you got, the more you should give. So it's always good to see that happen in the city of Saginaw. As far as the crime lease, Denham is concerned, you know, I support it. But if anybody got any concerns, they say it's a fine in there. You get double the next day. Maybe we should take a look at that if that's the case. I'm not sure. But I think it's a good thing because we need to make the landlords more responsible for people that stand in their house. You know, it would be almost like having a grocery store open up and everybody come at the grocery store and do what they want to do in that particular grocery store. No one's responsible because the owner's never there. You know, I can't get away with some stuff like that in my house. My wife ain't gonna let me tear the house up and let trash fly around all the neighborhood and stuff like that. That's not gonna happen. You know, I'm not happy when people in my neighborhood have trash that's flying around the neighborhood. As a matter of fact, I even got a note here that I need to pass on to Mr. Stemple at 855 South 13th Street. Across the street there's a lot right there, and in that neighborhood the grass is growing tall and there's a lot of debris in that neighborhood over there. So hopefully Mr. Stemple, the scenic crew, can go out there and take a look at 855 South 13th Street, 13th and Harstuck. You know, there's a lot of things we can do here to make Saginaw a beautiful place to live. And I think this crime-free lease of Denham is one of the things that's going to help us out too, because I don't think if people know you can have criminals staying at their house and there's no repercussions for them staying there, you know, then they don't have anything, they won't do anything. But now if they feel like it is going to be something, I bet they will, even if they're kids. You know, anybody that's doing anything wrong is not making Saginaw a beautiful place to live in. And we need to get rid of this crime. I'm tired of hearing about the shootings that's going on in the city of Saginaw and Flint and stuff like this. It's disheartening to hear that. You know, so we all can just chip away at this a little bit at a time. And for all you young people here, there's some things you can do to help chip away at this too. You guys are excellent students and citizens so far, and it'd be nice for you guys to even give yourselves to the Big Brothers and Sisters program so you can help a kid out. It don't take a lot, but they have a program that young people can help mentor too, people in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, stuff like that, to show them how to be productive and good students and stuff like that in society today. So we all can give. You know, the more we give, the more we receive. So thanks for letting me share that.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone to the city council meeting, and I'd like to thank the presenters and the two agencies that got the proclamation. I can never say enough about the grandparenting program. I remember you at Buena Vista, and you saved a lot of our little babies over there. So before we closed down, I do remember working with some of the women at Buena Vista High School. So my hat goes off to you. I really do appreciate you. I had the opportunity to travel to Lansing with 3 of my other fellow council members, and we had an excellent time. We learned a lot about things that we can do and what other cities are doing, and you would be surprised at how Saginaw kept coming up on the market. Saginaw's doing this, Saginaw's doing that. We are working with this group, the Municipal League. We're working with this group to do some things in Saginaw. That we talked briefly about it at our workshop, downtown development. We're looking at doing the downtown market, and we will be the first city to get this grant. So we're crossing fingers, crossing toes that they come. They are going to have a workshop soon in May. Was it in May? In May, but they didn't know where they were going to have it. So, you know, we volunteered. City of Saginaw, if we have to have it in the council chambers, we'll have it so that people can understand what's going on. The city is on the move. I really wish we could do like the county did, or the what is it, Tom Miller's new group. I enjoyed the Easter egg hunt. And I don't even have a child. But I enjoyed the Easter egg hunt. It was so exciting to watch babies run and push to get the eggs. That's what it's all about, the young people. Young people that are here to support Ms. Ham we thank you for honoring our mayor. We really do. We thank you for honoring our mayor, First Lady Mayor Ham. We love you. You know you're always in our prayers. For you young people, I really want you to stay focused because right now you are our future. And if you continue on the path that you're going right now, I'm sure you're going to do great things. And Annie Bench, congratulations to the young lady. She gave you a shout out, but I don't think anybody heard it, but I'm going to acknowledge it. I'm proud of you for doing the stuff that you do. I know it takes a lot when you have a parent or relative in any type of politics. So my hat goes off that you stay focused, to stay on your mark. So my hat really goes out to you, young lady. And for the rest of the young people, congratulations, a job well done. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Councilman Clark. Thank you. That's a nice picture. Well, stay tuned. You may be getting telephone calls in the next few weeks of somebody that tells you how fortunate you are that you've had the opportunity to own a piece of that bridge. And now let's get serious. That hasn't happened. But how many of you have or know anyone who got a telephone call from the IRS say you owe us money? It happens, and it happens every day. Don't be taken by it, please. The IRS will not call you by telephone and dun you for past payments or money that they claim is due. It's easy to say, but how many of us fall for it? This is the time of year for scams. Scammers aren't stupid. They know you're getting a refund check. They want their share, or all of it. Another scam that's going around is the, hi grandma or grandpa, it's your grandson. Don't tell my mother and father that I called. I'm so-and-so and I need some money. I'll pay as soon as I get back, and all of a sudden, bingo, your grandson disappears from the airlines. Out comes the scam artist. Your son's okay, nothing really serious, but he did incur some expenses. I happened to talk to a person one day whose mother got a call like that. The mother believed it. She went to the bank, asked for a check. No personal checks to these scammers. They're not going to take them. They want that bank draft. Fortunately, the bank clerk got lucky. She identified that it was a fraud. She explained it to this lady. She says, I'm not going to take your money. Go home. Forget it. Same thing happened to me. My grandson called me, and I'll tell you, that kid sounded like my grandson. And after a few minutes, I just hung up on the guy. But it's going on and on. You all probably play the numbers, you play the lotteries. You put your money down, you might win. When's the last time you won a lottery that you didn't pay a dime for? When's the last time somebody calls up and says, Mrs. Jones, this is your lucky day, you won the lottery, and you haven't spent a dime? If you believe it, I've got some shares in a bridge I can let you have, very, very cheaply. And Mrs. Weiss, for your information, when a landlord applies to the city to register his property, his taxes have to be current. I don't know if that was the case some years ago, but today it is. Am I correct, Mr. Attorney?
Manager says yes.
Mr. Manager, I believe that's correct. So that is covered. But stay tuned with these scams. Nobody's going to give you money. Other than stealing it, the only way you're going to get it is earn it. And I'd suggest earning it. But when somebody calls you and they're going to give you something after you send them a small deposit, you may even get a check, by the way. But by the time you send them your money order and that check bounces back to you, you might as well play basketball with it. So please, wake up, be informed, don't be taken, don't be greedy. That's what they rely on. The scammer relies on greed. And for you, I have tickets for that. We'll talk to you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Amos and Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to everyone. I'd like to express appreciation for everyone coming out to voice their opinions on the various topics. I would like to recognize our former mayor, Mayor Wilmerham McZee, and her outstanding students. Your display and articulation was just brilliant, and I want to commend you and let you know that definitely appreciate your leadership and being present. I think leadership is present. You know, whatever the situation is, you got to have a position. So thank you for being here and representing very well. Very honored to have you here tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Also, I want to thank the staff, Beth London, Phil, our Coward, and the Streets and Engineering Department for the communication that went out for the Janes, Lapeer, 19th Street area, informing the public of the upcoming construction on an area of road that's been sort of dilapidated for many, many years. I got a lot of comments from neighbors just saying, you know, it was good to get the letter as they did previously for the Lapeer Street area, which is great. So thank you guys for doing that, and look forward to the presentation tonight. Also, there are a lot of things going on in the community, and there are a lot of folks who care about what happens in the Saginaw. And our congressman, the mayor, and I, we met with him some time ago, and the congressman has also been meeting throughout the community with various groups. So as a result of that, he created an opportunity for youth. And Madam Mayor Ham, I would like for you to get a copy of this if you're not already aware of it, but there's an event coming up tomorrow at the Seventh-day Adventist Church from 4 to 6. And it's called the Congressman Dale Kildee for youth. He's coming to have a youth summit to talk about some topics that are important to young adults and youth: jobs and youth unemployment, education and student loans, leadership development, public safety, talk about crime, mental health. You know, we have a lot of adults as well as young people that have mental health issues, and also youth foster care. So grandparents groups, you're also welcome to this event. It's going to be for 2 hours. The congressman will be there. I will be facilitating that. There will be questions taken from the floor. And I think this is just a good opportunity for the community to engage with their congressman. So that's tomorrow from 4 to 6 at the Seventh-day Adventist Church on Wadsworth Street here in Saginaw. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Councilwoman Annie Betts.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First of all, to the students here in the audience tonight, congratulations on receiving the Mahogany Scholarship. I'm very proud of Katharina, as you all can assume. And we're just very happy that she's doing well enough that she's received this fantastic opportunity with Mayor McZee. Ms. Furlow and the foster grandparents there in the audience, I'd like to thank you as well for your service and the work that you guys do in the classrooms. I think my 2 younger children have almost always had a foster grandparent in their classroom, and the help it provides the aide and the teacher, in addition to the good that it does the students as individuals, it's a very valuable program, and I've seen that firsthand. I also wanted to clarify too, and I'm sure Councilman Tibbs will touch on it, but We had a couple public speakers mention the 100% penalty for late fees. That is not in the crime-free lease addendum. That is not part of that ordinance. That is just the penalty for not paying to register your rental on time. I will also volunteer that I do support the crime-free lease addendum. I think it is a good move on the part of the city. I think that we've got other communities around us that have chosen to do the same thing. I think it's not really asking much of the landlords to inform their tenants that these are the things that are not going to be tolerated on the property. And if you are a landlord who is okay with those things going on your property or don't have the means to address the situation, then you probably shouldn't be a landlord. So with that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Tipp.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to acknowledge former Mayor Hannah McZee. Thank you so much for your past work and your current work. Your students did wonderfully. I guess I'd like to recognize Niera Owens. She's one of my kids' favorites. She babysits them as well as one of my wife's favorite students at SASA. Thank you so much for your work. Speaking on kids, I think you guys are a great representation of what our public schools are producing. I think they definitely get a bad rap. I mean, we definitely don't have the best test scores, but we are producing some quality individuals, and thank you for showing this to the city. And some other kids that doing well and representing our city pretty well. Arthur Hill basketball team made a credible run to the state championship. Didn't quite make it. Unfortunately, the other team had 2 transfers from earlier this year. I don't know how that worked out, but something has to be wrong with that. But that team, that's going to go down in history. I would venture that at least 3 or 4 of those kids will be in the professional, playing pros. Maybe our city should consider giving that team a proclamation. I like to recognize another student, Hawa Hilwa Salah. I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, but a SASA student who did a beautiful artwork for this year's Light Up the City emblem. Thank you, students, for investing in the city. We need you. The city needs our young people to maintain where we are and to grow. And every opportunity that the city has to encourage that, I think we should take advantage of that. And thank you. Another local product, a former student, Jennifer Harge. She has a production company called Harge Dance Stories, and she's coming back here April 17th to do a production called The Line Between Heaven and Here, April 17th at SASA. Her Facebook page is Harge, H-A-R-G-E, Dance Stories. I think we should definitely support that. I would like to thank the Foster Grandparent Program. I was raised by my grandparents, and your program definitely is making an impact. I don't know where I would be without my grandparents, so very important organization. And my grandparents are not around, obviously, but I think about them every day. And thank you for your contribution. Later, I guess we're going to review the crime-free lease addendum. Over the past 9 months, we've been discussing this with the neighborhood associations, landlords, as well as city staff. And over this 9-month period, the city staff had an opportunity to review this ordinance. And based on this banter that we had, this meeting of the minds over this 9-month period, they shared with us what they can't and cannot do. And this final version that's being presented, this is something that they said they can do. Theoretically, there's little to no additional work for city staff. I mean, this is pretty much done by software created by Mr. Kopsik. It's a notification system that ArcGIS, which is a very impressive tool for our city, shares police reports that are generated from ARMS with our landlords. And if there's 3 incidences, and there's specific incidents and pretty severe incidences, then that's when a penalty could possibly kick in. There's also avenues where the landlords can avoid it. The landlords had plenty of opportunity to contribute in this discussion. For them to say that their ideas were not taken in consideration I don't think it's accurate. For one, the first proposal that we presented, it had a license requirement, which could also be an additional fee. That was totally removed. There is no additional fee than what they already have to pay for being a non-owner occupied property. Two, there's no threat of their ability to lose their ability to lease in the city. That was removed. Three, they've been asking for notification from the city to them about issues on that property. Because of this discussion, we learned that our GIS system was able to give them this ability, and they do not pay not a dime for that service. While this was happening, we increased the water bill, or excuse me, the water deposit to benefit them and to prevent undue burden on their ability to do business. But so for them to say that they received nothing, I think it's not accurate. I hope we can move the city forward by passing this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple things from the table here to our recipients of our proclamations. It was my honor to issue those proclamations. Boy, I just can't say enough about our foster grandparent program and all the volunteers who make our city what it is today. And the great success that we have seen in the last year or so really boils down to the cooperation and volunteers that are out there, whether it's a neighborhood associations, it's our grandparents, foster grandparents, big brothers, big sisters. All of those play a very important part in our community, and very proud of that. With that, though, on Tuesday, April 14th, this information should go out to all the neighborhood associations. I can't believe it hasn't went already. But this is our Go Green celebration here at City Council Chambers from 11 to 1 on the 14th. This is the Go Green. Community is invited. Participants will be Waste Management, Consumers Energy, Mid-Michigan Waste Authority, Downtown Saginaw's Farmer Market Incorporated, Worm Composting, Saginaw Neighborhood Stabilization Program. That's the home energy savings ideas. There's a hard drive, computer, electronic removal demonstration, Standard Electric Company, Houghton Jones Association, Garden Project, Goodwill Industries of Michigan. This is a great opportunity to stop in and see what's happening in your community for that. And Councilman Balls, you are not invited because I see they do have door prizes, and you only win one a year and you are maxed out. So therefore, you're welcome to attend, but you can't win. You can show up, but don't put anything in there. I did receive notice here, I think other council members received it, the 64th National Day of Prayer will be held on the steps of City Hall on May 7th at 12 noon. May 7th at 12 noon, that's the 64th Annual National Day of Prayer in our community. I want to thank the, and I forgot to do this last time, but I want to thank the Saginaw Police Reserve Department, Saginaw Police Department, the Reserve Unit, been getting the update on their newsletter. And once again, this is a volunteer group of people who are stepping up front, assisting our citizens by assisting our police department at many of our events. And these are volunteers again. And the things they have going on, even to the point where they have a fundraiser to help pay for their uniforms. They're buying their own uniforms. So this is amazing. I can't say enough about these young men and women serving our community. For our young people here today, thank you for all your comments. Thank you for the invite for that. But I am not going to let you off the hook because from this day forward, you are young ambassadors of the city of Saginaw. You are going out to different colleges, different communities. And the only way they are going to know about Saginaw is what you tell them. You are the ambassadors. I'm very proud of this community, this city, and I'm very proud of you there. And this is a great place. And I need you to spread that word for us. You only have to tell one, and that person will spread it on because they love gossip. And when they hear something, they love passing that on. I don't like negative gossip, but I'll take the positive one. In the audience, I see a gentleman, and I'm a little bit concerned because normally there's a very good friend of mine, Betty, who attends every city council meeting, and she is not here tonight, and that concerns me because she never misses. But someone else from Spicer Group is here, and I'm hoping he's filling in for Betty. If not, he's going to admit he is, and then we'll do that later. But I hope everything's well with her, and I'm not sure why, because I've only known her of all the times I've been here, and she's been here to miss once, and all that times. And I'll tell you, that speaks highly of our citizens who come on a regular basis. Thank you very much. All those that come on a regular basis, thank you very much. Staff, yeah, I know you have to be here, but we appreciate you anyways so much, staff, for being here. And one more, because I have the gavel, you can't stop me. Riverfront Commission, thank you for the minutes. Thank you all the committees that send your minutes in to us. Council members look at these, they read these, and there's no excuse for not knowing what's going on the riverfront. They pass these out every meeting that they have. So thank you very much. Madam Clerk? Where are we at?
We are now at reports from the manager.
All right. Manager, I was reminded that there is some 9 o'clock, something that goes on at 9 o'clock. And those are headed out right now can still make that 9 o'clock tip off.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Anklem, we're going to talk about the roads. Would you? I hate to have you miss it. We're going to talk about the roads coming up, right?
Okay, good evening. And Councilwoman Bench mentioned it, but I would reiterate that the fee that a couple people mentioned is not part of this addendum. That was passed by council, I think several revisions ago to that ordinance. So that's not even in question this evening. So that's not something that we are looking at changing at this time. And I also wanted to thank the members of Pride who a few weeks ago we had the 40th anniversary lunch meeting that they've been providing events in downtown Saginaw for that long, and we appreciate what they do. And I know there were several council members at that awards luncheon, and the keynote speaker was Mike Hanley, the chair of the county board, and he mentioned something about Riverfront Saginaw, and that is something that we talked about at our strategic planning session a little bit. And we're going to have another update in the next few meetings about some of the things that the city's doing to help promote the riverfront and help promote downtown development. So look forward to that. I believe we'll have that at the next city council meeting. And along with that, I'm sure most council members did see that the city DDA director is leaving, and I believe the last day is the 9th of April this week. So that's something that the DDA board will be looking at moving forward on how to provide those services. I recommended to the DDA board that we look at alternative ways to provide the executive director position, or the duties that the executive director provides to the DDA. And the board approved a committee to explore those options. So I'm going to be bringing back information to that committee, and then eventually it'll go back to the entire DDA board. There are a number of ways that DDAs function throughout the state of Michigan. Some boards do have a contract with a planning firm or management firm to do that. Some DDAs have, like our current model would be a contract employee. Some have a city employee serving as a DDA director, same economic development director. So I think it's worth looking at. Anytime you have a change, it's an opportunity to improve what you're doing and the way and find efficiencies, and that's what we've been doing in the city with all of our departments. So I think that our boards, it's incumbent upon our boards to do that as well. The DDA receives funding from the city. That's the primary source of funding, and only just within the past few months have we had a city council member on DDA, back on DDA. That's Councilwoman Bench. So there is a role for city council to play in the Downtown Development Authority, and to me it's a fairly major role. The council established the DDA, and it's every city doesn't have one, so you definitely have input. So if you have any thoughts on that matter, please feel free to contact me. I've already talked to the mayor and the mayor pro tem and Councilwoman Bench about it, but anyone else who has thoughts or about the process or different ideas about what we're looking at, please feel free to contact me, and I can relay that back to the board. Just going on, I had a few updates on items where we have looked at doing things differently, and today on the agenda we have the city attorney's contract. And as you all recall, city attorney used to be a non-union position in the city, and the department at one time was fairly large, and it started going down, dwindling. But that contract renewal is on the agenda tonight, and I just wanted to let council know that for the past 3 years, part of 2012, fiscal 2012, all of 13 and 14, we've had a contract city attorney, Mr. Borello's firm. All 3 of those years we came in under budget within our city attorney function area to the tune of $17,000 one year, $40,000 the next, and $43,000 the next year. So we're operating that area under budget. To give you an idea how much less it is than previously, in 2011 was the last full year that we had an in-house city attorney. That department, actual expenditures were $585,000 approximately. In 2012, that went down to $471,000. In 2013, it was $165,832, and in 14, $158,000. So you see that steady decline in what it's been costing us. So I think that's a good example of how thinking of different ways to provide services and get our jobs done has really helped the city in saving funds. Along that same lines, Councilwoman Moore talked a little bit about the MML and different things that they're doing with development and ideas about promotion. And we are, as I've said before, we were selected to be part of the Place Plans project. So Ms. Jones and Mr. Tom Miller Jr. were all 3 of us working with the MML on that project. And one of the things that they recommended, and I think is a great idea, rather than setting up different and new groups to do things, is engaging the Riverfront Commission to be a primary driver for this process. So at the next Riverfront meeting, which is on April 21st, MML is going to be presenting ideas about the project and the process to the Riverfront Commission. So if you are interested in that and would like to come to that meeting, that is on April 21st at 5 o'clock in council chambers. So I think that'll be an exciting presentation. It'll be a way to, I think, engage a good group of people to give direction on a specific project. So great idea by the MML, and I think that'll be a big help to doing some of the projects we're talking about downtown as well. Another item that I wanted to let council know about, because it may be out there already, but as I said, we need to look at different ways to do business. If we can save money doing something differently, I think we need to do that. Our Public Services Director, Phil Carwat, and actually Beth London and his entire, a few members of his administrative staff has been looking at bringing parts of our rubbish recycling back in-house, and I know he notified the Waste Authority about that. We're looking at a substantial increase in those services from Waste Management, and Mr. Carwatt's been working with Ms. Jones and others to see how can we save money in that area and still provide the service. So either at the next council meeting or the council meeting after that, he's going to give a presentation to update you all on what it would, savings it would provide to bring that in-house. And I think that's one of the themes that we need to continue, the same with updating our street lighting. That type of initial investment is going to save the city in the future in the long run, and I think that's what the council has charged us with doing with the planning, is to start thinking ahead and planning for the future. So this is just another area where I think fits into that, doing things different and exploring different options. So we'll have two presentations in the next couple council meetings, one from Mr. Klopsick about the riverfront Saginaw idea and how the city is promoting that, and also for bringing recycling back in-house. And then on the 21st, we'll have a presentation about process for planning the riverfront and downtown to the Riverfront Commission. So, of course, everyone's invited to the riverfront meeting. It's an open meeting, and I hope that you guys can come, and if not, we'll give you a summary back after that presentation. We do have a presentation tonight, and this is something that Mr. Carwatt and I also discussed because of the number of questions that you all as council members get about conditions of the road and what roads are going to be fixed this year and what's in the long-term planning process. So our city engineer, Beth London, is here to give an update on the projects for this spring and summer, and she'll answer any questions. She's very meticulous, so I'm sure she's prepared for a lot of questions. And Beth?
Thank you. And thank you for having me here to speak about the projects we completed last summer and the projects we have scheduled for this summer. So obviously I can't operate this, Jeff, sorry. This right here. Okay. Oh, thanks. Okay. Last summer, we had 5 road projects. South Hamilton Street, the Weiss traffic signal improvements, East Genesee Avenue from Harold to Hess, West Remington from North Michigan to North Mason, and then Lapeer from 19th to the city limits, which is roughly 23rd Street. South Hamilton is done. They were out fixing a sidewalk ramp today, but that's the last of the work there. It's a little over $1 million project. It was asphalt resurfacing, all new sidewalk, new water main, and drainage and sewer improvements, as well as trees. Also, in the 100 block of South Hamilton, the property owners agreed to give up their on-street parking on the east side of the street to extend the sidewalk so they could accommodate cafe outside seating. This project utilized $440,000 of federal road money, and it was completed by Kalen Construction of Sodus, Michigan, which is over by Grand Rapids. Weiss Street traffic signal improvements is a small project, $213,000. It added a southbound right turn lane at Herman South Street, installed a traffic signal at Herman South and Weiss, tied the timing to the signals at Weiss and Schaefer and Weiss in Michigan, and we also installed pedestrian signals at all 3 locations. We utilized $160,000 of federal road money for this project, and the match is being split between the Saginaw County Road Commission and the City Major Street Fund. East Genesee Avenue from Harold to Hess, which I think everybody thought went on and on forever last summer, was a little under $1.4 million. It was done by local contractor Rohde Brothers of Buena Vista Township, It was a mill and resurface project, and it was a new water main, 16-inch water main north of Weber Street. There were other water main improvements south of Weber Street and drainage and new ADA ramps. This project utilized $608,000 of federal road money. West Remington from North Michigan to North Mason was just under $1.5 million. Again, this was Rohde Brothers that had this project, and we converted that road from a 3-lane cross-section to a 2-lane cross-section to save money. We didn't need it for capacity. It was all new water main, and also all the structures and manholes and the catch basins that you can't see, they were all brick and they were all replaced as part of this project. This project utilized $720,000 of federal road money. This is Lapeer Avenue from 19th Street to the city limits, or 23rd. It was a $390,000 project. Whoops. And lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. It was a 2-lane asphalt reconstruct with new ADA ramps, and it had drainage improvements and sewer improvements. We utilized $213,000 of community development block grant funds on this project. This summer, what do we have going on? We have 2 bridge projects, 4 road projects, and then we have the Boulder Climbing Garden and Pathway, which I think everybody's heard about many times. We also have a new water main going in. These 4 projects, the Boulder Climbing Pathway, Johnson Street Bridge over the Saginaw River, 19th Street and Lapeer Avenue, and Niagara Street have all been bid and they're ready to start. Oops. The Boulder Climbing Garden and Pathway started today. And it's a local contractor, Wobig Construction, and it includes the installation of the 4 prefabricated boulder climbing wall pieces, also the pathway installation, planting of 10 trees, installation of 6 benches, a bike rack, and the shade kite. The bike rack and the shade kite were donated, as well as 3 of the benches. Here's a picture of one of the pieces, which I think you may have already seen. The construction started today. It should be done in mid-June, and all I really want to say about the funding is $67,000 are from a Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund grant, with a $30,000 match coming from the Community Foundation First Merit Bank Fund. The Johnson Street Bridge over the Saginaw River is scheduled to start May 1st. This is a preventative maintenance project with partial beam painting and pin and hanger replacement. Should be completed by September 1st. Traffic will be maintained across the bridge, at least 1 lane in each direction during construction. Contractor is Otsalis Brothers of Warren, Michigan. The bid is $478,805. 95% of that will be paid with federal and state bridge funds. 19th Street in Lapeer is scheduled to start May 4th. 19th Street the limits are Janes to Lapeer, and we're talking about a little piece of Lapeer from southbound Vets Parkway to 19th Street. Anybody that drives that knows that that's probably the worst section of Lapeer, so it'll be nice to have that done. It's an asphalt reconstruct, drainage improvements, new ramps, and it will be closed to through traffic during construction. Outer Drive is being used as a detour route. The open to traffic date is July 3rd with the completion date of September 4th. The contractor is Geyersbach Construction of Freeland with a bid of $444,000, and this project uses $308,000 of federal surface transportation urban local funds, which is federal road funds. Niagara Street is scheduled to start May 11th, and the limits are Genesee Avenue to Davenport. It's a 3-lane asphalt reconstruction with water system improvements, drainage improvements, new sidewalk, and ramps. Niagara Street will be closed to through traffic during construction. Traffic will be detoured to Michigan Avenue. The open to traffic date is July 3rd with the completion date of September 25th. Champagne and Marks, a local contractor from Cotchville Township, has a low bid on this project. The bid is $489,000. Federal STUL funds will be used to the tune of $346,000. Okay, now Mackinac Street is scheduled for the June 5th MDOT bid letting. It's a little bit different. The limits are state to Weiss, but it's a concrete preventative maintenance project. It means we're going to repair the concrete joints, so we're going to repair the concrete panels, but we are also going to try to undertake water system improvements and drainage improvements and install new ramps. This project is scheduled to start July 20th. The open to traffic date is September 25th with a completion date of October 9th. This road will also be closed during construction. We tried very desperately to keep it open. In fact, the water services on the west side of the road are going to be bored, but we just don't have enough room to work to keep traffic open, so traffic will be detoured using Hemeter. This is not an all-season truck route, so the detour route did not require an all-season route. The engineer's estimate for this project is $492,000, and we'll be using $212,000 federal STUL funds. Gabriel Road and Maple Street is also on the June 5th MDOT bid letting. For those that don't know where Gabriel Street is, it's in the southwest part of the city, and it's an access point to the Shiawassee Nature Preserve and the Greenpoint Nature Center. And we're going to do an asphalt crush and shape on Maple from Beacon north to Gabriel, and then resurface Maple and then resurface Gabriel to about 100 feet past the Greenpoint Nature Center entrance. We're also doing drainage improvements, and we're installing a multi-use pathway from the sidewalk at Beacon and Maple to the Greenpoint Nature Center driveway. It'll go down the east side of Maple and across the north side of Gabriel. That's scheduled to start July 6th with an open to traffic date August 28th and a completion of September 11th. Local and emergency access will be maintained at all times during construction. This is a $372,000 project. We're utilizing a federal public lands highway discretionary grant from the Federal Highway Administration for part of this, $234,000, and then the Fish and Wildlife has pledged or $100,000 of their transportation money for this project, and the money has already gone to the Federal Highway Administration for this project. Genesee Street Bridge over the Saginaw River is also on the June 5th MDOT bid letting. Again, it's a preventative maintenance project. We'll do repairs to the steel beams. We're going to install scour countermeasures in the water around the piers. Basically, you're putting riprap or stone around there. And that's scheduled to start August 3rd with a completion date of October 30th. Again, one lane of traffic in each direction will be maintained during construction. This is a $400,000 project, and 95% of this is funded with federal and state bridge funds. Hamilton Street is a water main that we're hoping to get out for bid by the end of the month. This is a water main that we're installing for Shaheen Development's condominium project in the 400 block of North Hamilton Street. And we're hoping to bid this project by April 21st with a construction start date in the middle of May, completion at the end of June. We threw these in just to show where our funding is coming from. 25% are city funds, and 75% or $2.1 million of the $2.8 million we have slated for this summer is coming from non-city funds. This is a breakdown of the non-city funds and where they're coming from. $866,000 of federal STUL funds, and $838,000 is state and federal bridge funds. $234,000 is that PLHD grant from the Federal Highway Administration. $100,000 from Fish and Wildlife, And the 67,000 MNRTF grant for the boulder climbing wall and pathway, and the 30,000 match from the Community Foundation First Merit Grant, and then $3,700 from the Community Foundation Anderson Repurposing Fund. This is a breakdown of where the city funds are coming from. 46% are water funds at $325,000, $250,000 are major street funds, $88,000 are sewer funds, $26,400 are from the local street fund, and that's for the 19th Street match. 19th Street is not a major street. And $11,000 is from the general fund, that's for the boulder climbing wall. And $3,000 is from the Celebration Park Fund for the same project, boulder climbing wall. And questions?
Gabriel, that runs off Maple, correct?
Yes.
And then makes a right turn and goes south?
Gabriel, the part we're going to do runs east and west. Maple runs north and south off of South Michigan, kind of where West Michigan and South Michigan come together, where it bends.
Right.
Yeah, that's Maple. And then where it turns and goes east, that's Gabriel Road.
And that heads towards what used to be a landfill?
Yes.
And then makes a turn and goes to the river?
Right. The part that goes east and west is city. The part that then turns south and goes down to Riverside is
Yes.
private.
That's private?
That's
That
private
was-
road.
That was my question. And how far, are you going all the way down to Greenpoint Drive?
We're going to Greenpoint Drive. This project was really at the request of the Shiawassee Nature Preserve, and they're pretty much funding it.
That's a pretty bad road.
It is bad, and we have been out there. We go out there every year to try to grade it, at least the portion that's in front of, or on Gabriel, which it could, because it's gravel.
Thank you. And I note here we're doing Mackinac from State Street to Weiss. What about Mackinac south of there?
Congress
There's some
to,
areas in Mackinac that are pretty bad.
yeah, Congress to State is under design by Spicer right now, and that's on, that is not on the current tip. The current tip only, Transportation Improvement Plan, only goes through 2017, but it will be on the next four-year tip. And it's our goal to just march down Mackinac as funds become available, all the way down to Hamilton Street.
And you expect that possibly by what year?
Well, it's like doing Lapeer with Community Development Block Grant funds. We're just going to pick away at it and do so many blocks at a time.
And what about North Mason from between Weiss and Davenport?
North Mason is under design by OHM, and that is next year's construction season.
Next year?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much.
Council members? Council members? Balls.
When are we going to fix Wicks Park?
Wicks Park is not a public road. It's park property, so technically we're not supposed to spend Act 51 or road money on that particular road. And parks funding is a general fund function.
Is that a city park or a county park?
It's a city park.
Okay.
Besides myself, go ahead. Councilman Tibbs.
Thank you, Ms. London. You always do a fine job. I don't want to catch you off guard because because the question deals with Proposal 1, and maybe this might be a discussion about later, but there's been projections as far as what it could do for our city and how much money the city could get. Has there been any idea or plans or thoughts of how Proposal 1, if it is successful, how it would impact our roads?
We know how much money it would generate for us. For the first year, the money would be available is 2016. It would increase. We received $4.4 million in Act 51 road money that we use in addition to the federal money, the STUL money. And we would receive in 16 an increase of $985,000. In 17, we'd receive an increase of $1.9 million. And in 2018 and beyond, we'd receive an increase of $2.9 million.
Expect for the sales tax revenue to be, and also I believe within that proposal, the legislature does have options that they can do too. So that is only an estimate at this time.
Right, and that's based on the Act 51 formula, and that always fluctuates. What we receive in Act 51 funds always fluctuates on how much the state takes in from the gas tax and from the licensing. It's never the same. It's up better, it's better this year than it was last year in Act 51 funds. And we don't have any projects sitting on the shelf to do. If this goes through, we would probably first do a lot of design work, and we might come out and be able to do some milling and resurfacing. So reconstruction of those roads that are the worst, we would not be prepared to do that immediately. I don't want anybody to think if that passes, we'll be out there the next day, because that won't happen. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Beth, obviously, you've done a great job, your team, with the resources you have available.
Thank you.
You know, you've taken, those funds that are federal and state and really stretched them. And I think that shows the resiliency of the city, because we've been talking about our roads for some time. See if Mr. Ackland,
Just left.
he just left, but I know I've been complaining about that 19th Street for probably, I don't know, 8, 9 years. I lost track, but I knew that the funds were not there. But I think the creativity and the effort in terms that was made, I appreciate it. A lot of folks do. And just looking at your presentation, you've really taken a cross sample of the city, and you address some of the problem roads. The business district that needs that, for business development. You've looked at that. Our main thoroughfares. You're looking at those. I'm very pleased with what you've done. Okay, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And pass that on for me.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other council members? Councilman Balls.
On Bagshaw Street, we got a sinkhole that's developing over there. I rode in it the other day myself, and bam! I mean, it's getting to be bigger and bigger and bigger. On
We'll
the
take a
corner
look at that.
Cora and
Bagshaw.
it's getting real bad.
All right.
Beth, a couple questions I have. Beth, we have scheduled work on Johnson Street Bridge and Genesee Street Bridge.
Yes.
You know what my question is, don't you?
Well,
are you going to?
They're not going to overlap.
Okay, they won't overlap.
No.
So one lane on Johnson and Genesee will stay open, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Whatever we do. Okay, I was concerned about that because some great activities go on downtown, and we certainly want to give them.
Johnson is starting now, pretty
Okay.
much. Well, May 1st, and you won't see the other projects start towards the end of the summer.
All right. Another question I have, Beth, is at one time, the state was talking about eliminating one of the bridges at Vets Memorial Highway. That's a dual bridge going over. Does the state still plan on eliminating one of those? I mean, that was built for a tremendous amount of traffic many years ago, and we just don't have that.
They
so-
do, and they are, and we have to have another conversation with them because we are planning to do Vets Parkway.
Yes.
That's slated for 2017, and it would be smarter to have this conversation now and figure out a way to convert that if that's going to happen. We applied for Transportation Economic Development Category F grant for Vets Parkway for 2016, but we had to move that project to 2017. So we had to decline that money, and they've told us to resubmit for 2017. So we expect that project to happen. I don't know that we'll have all the money to do it from Lapeer all the way to Washington or M13, but that asphalt piece in the middle is what is eligible for Category F funds. You can't do a joint and panel concrete repair project with, that, which is considered preventative maintenance. You can't use that type of funding for that. But we will have that discussion with MDOT before we proceed. We don't have anyone under design yet for that project, and before we do, we'll have that conversation with the Bay City TSC.
Part of the 19th Street you talked about was a little bit of Lapeer that goes to Vets Memorial.
Yes, that's on this project that's
And
about
that's-
to
And I
start.
guess that's the part I'm concerned about. We're talking about redoing that or fixing, and then I just hate to see the state come in and do something that same year, and we just.
Yeah, they don't,
So,
I will tell
okay.
you, they don't have that project on their radar
Okay, very
anytime
good.
soon.
Okay.
And they would only demolish that bridge when it becomes critical, meaning they have to fix it or demolish it. But they have said to us, if you are really going to put money into Vets Parkway, we will entertain, bring
Okay.
that back up.
Yeah.
I don't think they have money to demolish
I
it.
don't either. Okay. Okay, that was a couple, and I do know that the asphalt sealers are out there. But we're patching holes.
The
'Cause I
coal
drove
patch-
over some
yeah.
today with the loose patch.
Oh, they're
and
out
I
there. They're
know
out there
out
every day.
I know they're
right
out
now,
there every
yeah.
day.
This is our season,
And I certainly
unfortunately.
want our citizens to know, yes, our crews are out there every day, doing the best they can with the resources.
And I want to give a little bit of a shout out to the Streets Department because they did do repairs on Court Street, concrete repairs. We are trying to do more repairs with those Act 51 funds instead of just patching potholes.
Yes.
They did the work over on 17th Street. We've talked about trying to do concrete repairs on Hess, and it's not Bagshaw he was talking about, but it was another street over there, and I don't remember what it was. But he's got a list, and we're working that out of which ones we're going to try to have them do. We don't want it to be too large of a project, but we are going to try to do more projects like that.
Okay. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Beth, on that concrete patching, how does that work? Because I've noticed that 17th stretch, the replacements were concrete. Now, how do you do that? You have to use certain funds for, how does that work?
No, that's out of our major street funds,
Okay.
which is really how you pay for, that's our operating funds.
Okay, sure.
That's how we pay for the streets department, the people that go out, that's how we pay for the pothole material, the
Right.
patching machine. So it's just a matter of budgeting the materials and making sure they have working equipment. Right now, we have, they have a paver. The city of Saginaw owns a beautiful paver,
Okay.
but we don't have a sprayer for tack coat. So until he has a sprayer for tack coat, and we tried renting one last year, we can't pave multiple layers of asphalt. So Oak Street over off of Schaefer, they did dig that out, they did the whole block, the curb was left in place, and they put in an aggregate base and they paved 2 lifts, but I really don't want him to do that again until he can spray tack coat.
Okay.
So with the concrete, you saw cut out
Yeah.
the pavement repair
Right.
areas. They have to get rebar and then they tie it, they drill the holes and they tie it to the adjacent pieces of concrete.
Yeah,
We
that's
did
nice.
Relish, which is just off the Center Street Bridge. We had it shut down. It's just a very small local street, but it went up to a manufacturing facility and they weren't able to get their trucks in there and they did a project there and he's hoping to come back and do the rest of that block this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Alpine?
Yes, ma'am.
Not Bagshaw.
No, Alpine and Bagshaw.
Oh, Alpine, not Cora.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Beth, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Very good.
Thank you, Beth. And that concludes the management update.
Okay. And the agenda has been available at City Hall on the city's website and SGTV channel 191. I need a motion to adopt the consent agenda, leaving rooms for exceptions. It's been moved and supported. Are there any exceptions? Any exceptions? Last time, being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, your next order of business is reports from boards, commissions, and committees, and appointment of board and commission members.
I would ask for, under appointments first here, under appointments, motion to approve items 1 through 7, allowing for exceptions. Been moved and supported. Are there any exceptions on items 1 through 7? Any exceptions? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8 is my announcement of appointment of Council Member Dan Fitzpatrick to the Boards and Commission Committee with a term to expire October 6th, 2015. This replaces Brenda F. Moore. Also, I would ask that Councilman Larry Caloris now chair that meeting, that committee for the next 6 months.
Oh, it doesn't need a motion. A motion's not required.
We don't need a motion for
No.
this.
It's a mayoral
No,
appointment.
this mayor appointment, no, we don't need a motion for it. I know, that's okay. No, we were looking at, and I'm going to, Madam Clerk, under the Dan Fitzpatrick Boards and Commissions, that term expires October 6th, 2017, correct?
2017.
Okay, thank you. That's the thing we do at things. So thank you very much. Okay, I'm sorry. We shouldn't be doing a little sidebar here. I apologize.
And with that, you are now at introductions of ordinances.
Is there any reports from any boards or committees? And we'll start with Larry Caloris.
Thank you very much. The March 14th meeting of the Saginaw Planning Commission, we had some items here to approve. One was the request for a flower shop to operate at 3042 South Washington. That request is made by the Paradise Funeral Chapel. For 3042, if you picture yourself anywhere near this chapel, used to be a home that operated as a music studio.
Piano.
Pardon me?
Mr. Hall, the guy that used to run, the older gentleman used to run around here, 90-something years old. Yeah.
Really? Okay, thank you. The people at the chapel figure that the flower shop would be an appropriate addition to their operation. It was permitted under the mixed-use ordinance, and that was approved with completion date of September the 30th. I'd like to add something about completion date so you understand. When an appellant approaches the Planning Commission, we want from him a time schedule of completion. We always add some additional time to it in the event that unforeseen situations come up. That way he doesn't have to come back and re-enter his plea. But anyway, that one is due for completion in September. Also, the site plan review of an 1,185 square foot restroom building at the First Merit Pavilion at 301 Johnson Street. That will get rid of all the porta potties. That was not done at the initial construction of this because of the lack of funding. Now that they've found additional funding, they feel this is an appropriate addition. The rear end of that will be facing Franklin Street. There's a small building just due south of it that is now a service and storage building. And that also has a completion date of September 30th. It'll probably be done long before that. We also have a street vacation of Niagara Street from Madison to almost Ames. And the reason I say almost Ames, that 2 square block area bounded by Niagara, Hamilton, Madison, and Ames is where the Shaheen condominium is about to be built. However, at the south end, there are 2 structures that belong to 2 other people. Niagara Street will not be vacated behind those properties, so to ensure that they have access to and from their properties. This also leaves exceptions for easements, not only for the city but for the railroad, and that was approved. We also heard and discussed the vacating of Federal Street between Water and Washington, which is alongside the Saginaw News Building. And that's to facilitate the development going on there, not only with the expansion of parking that they need with the Bancroft condominiums or rentals, but parking and facilitating the potential farmers market. That was discussed. However, all the plans weren't completely resolved, and that's where that lies. When that will come back to the table, I don't know. Depends on the planners. And let's see, that's the Planning Commission, and from the Land Bank of the same day. Foreclosures are down. The Land Bank took possession of many properties from the state at no cost to us. The reason the Land Bank does that is so they can control that property rather than have it floating around the internet and people in Shanghai buying lots and putting it on eBay. Also, there are still properties that did not go at auction that are available for sale. Get a hold of Sue Seibel at the county treasurer's office, and she's the one that handles that. They would rather get those back on the tax rolls and get an owner-occupied person in there rather than demolish it. And that completes my presentation. Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Sure.
You said contact Sue at the Land Bank. What is this? Commercial property?
Residential.
Residential property. But is it still the way it used to be? You have to live next door and back of around to buy lots?
It's got to be adjacent.
Right.
It can't be across the street.
Right, okay.
Why, I don't know, but those are the rules.
Is it still going for the same price? Or just cost?
So these aren't vacant lots.
Right.
These are properties. Oh, you're talking about vacant lots or properties?
So you're talking about property?
I'm talking about homes.
Okay, homes.
I'm talking about homes that did not sell at the auction.
Okay. Okay. All right.
But you're right, the lots are still 150, and they have to be adjacent to the property.
Okay.
Okay. That's it. Councilwoman Annie Bench.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to announce that the City School Liaison Committee meeting will be held April 16th at 5:30 here in Council Chambers. Thank you.
Any other committee reports? Any other committee reports? Being done? Madam Clerk, I think we can move on now.
Thank you, Mayor. You are now at introduction of ordinances. And our ordinance tonight to introduce is ordinance to amend Chapter 151, Housing Regulations, Title 15, Land Usage of the City of Saginaw Code of Ordinances 01.
It's been moved to introduce and supported. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, crime-free, is that right?
Better known as the
Crime-free Lisa Denton. Just wanted to just have some discussion. Had a few questions earlier. We heard from a few folks tonight, and the 100% penalty that was sort of dispelled. Sounds like, right? Is that
It's not in the crime.
okay?
The penalty.
The penalty. There were a couple of speakers who talked about the 100% penalty after 1 day. So that's a current.
Yes.
Is that currently
That's
the
current,
policy?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So that's okay. Okay. All right. And then my main concerns were, I support making sure we can, mitigate and, remove situations in our neighborhoods that's going to be detriment to the aesthetics and the environment. I'm just concerned about the ability of the city. I heard conversation about this will be basically a GIS information gathering tool. But when I do know that if complaints are lodged, then that's staff time. It's going to be police time. I'm not sure how much. So I'm just concerned about that. We're already short-staffed throughout the city, and we have ordinance on our books that we aren't enforcing right now. So my concern is that, not that I'm opposed to this. It's just my concern is, if we approve something like this and we start getting complaints, will there be a log jam? Will there be time expended from whatever staff? Those are my questions. And then I wanted to ask, do we have data to support the excessive or just calls in general of claims? I've heard some, like Ms. Weiss, she's complained about this one house on Bond Street for a long time, and that's, like she said, it's empty. It's empty now. But is there data to support or give credence to us needing to reenact a new ordinance? That's a question I have. And then, and I guess I'll direct these first to the city manager, and then you can redirect it to wherever. And then my question is, with the landlord's own ability to enforce issues relative to folks who are renting their properties, if there's something going on in that property, that landlord already has a mechanism to deal with individuals in those properties that may not be adhering to the conditions of the lease. Okay, so I'm just concerned about, are we creating something that's going to be unenforceable? Is that the right word? Or are we able to enforce and maintain the movement that the intention of the ordinance represents?
The first question, I think it was the first one about the data. We've always been able to pull data on addresses through the ARM system, which has been continually improving over the years. So anytime we use that most frequently when there's necessarily maybe a problem business. Some of the after-hours clubs, we've used that ability to search and look at police reports by address or incidents by address. We have that ability to do the same thing with any address in the city. So one of the, Councilman Timms briefly mentioned that we had worked with the landlords. One of the things they asked for was a notification system. So our technical services department developed a program that will update, I believe it's bi-weekly or weekly for calls for service. So anytime it's set up so that a landlord gets notified, so they'll know when there's an incident at their residence, provided they give us an email address, which I think we're going to require on the rental application anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We just started doing this probably within the last 6 months or so, so I don't think we have that much data backed up, but if you really wanted to know, they can search it, any specific address if there's an issue with it, and could tell you how many calls for service went to that address. And since we started doing that, the landlords have been notified. So it's one employee in technical services that does that now that it's developed, and he updates it weekly. Probably takes him about an hour to do the update and send the emails. I think they're generated by the system, but it takes them about an hour of work, so that's not overburdensome on that staff. The other enforcement, I know the police chief was very supportive in the meetings with the landlords and the residents about this, and feels that any police work that's done on it can probably be absorbed by the community police officers. That's one of the things, they work very closely with the residents. So, and then John Stemple has also worked on this ordinance through the group, and we're looking at a few things in the budget on how can we provide services differently and inspections too. And John didn't indicate that he thought enforcement of this ordinance would be an issue for inspections. So I believe we can, I don't believe we'll have an issue with enforcement of it. It is additional work, and there'll probably be some work in the clerk's office as well. But I don't think it would have an impact on the staff's ability to do that work or do any other work related to it. The question about the landlord's ability to do evictions, I can't really address that. As a different, the city doesn't handle the eviction, so.
Well, okay, Mr. Mayor.
Continue.
Okay, so that's legitimate. So, but do we have any information of those evictions? Do we get information of that or some way through our inspections department?
When someone's evicted from an apartment?
Because we have to cut water off and things like that.
No, you cannot cut water off to do an eviction, according to my city attorney.
Well, not cut water off, but I'm saying when they're evicted, I mean, maybe some services may have to make things stay on. I'm not sure.
It would, I guess it depends on each situation, but the evictions are handled through district court, so it's not something they do through the inspections department.
So we don't have any way of getting that, we don't get that information. So we don't know when someone's evicted.
Not that I know of.
Not really, okay. And so another question, and this was mentioned by Mr. Kim, so there were 400 rental properties in the community. Someone mentioned that, and there were only less than half of those were registered.
He said, I believe it was Mr. Obersmith said there are, I can't remember how many people in the Landlords Association, so all of the landlords are not members of the association. Well, I know we have how many, that's something that John and Jeff Klopsick work on together for identifying rentals and how many we have registered, and that's a separate project, but it's important to you.
Okay. Oh, 400 in the Covenant area.
Oh.
400, he mentioned 400 rental properties in the Covenant area, and only so many were registered. So if there are that many non-registered, I mean, will this ordinance create a mechanism for them to register? Because they have to register anyway without this ordinance, right?
Well, they should be registering under the existing ordinance, unamended. So we do have some methods for enforcement. I don't know if that number is completely accurate because I haven't looked at the number of rentals and number of unregistered. It's a lot less than it used to be because of some of the changes we've made. For instance, you can't get water service at a rental that is unlicensed. That has had a huge impact on the number of non-owner occupied licenses in the city. So there are a number of ways that we go about finding the rentals, and that's another enforcement mechanism that we continually work on. But sometimes it's not possible for the city to know that a rental exists, so it can happen where they're unregistered. If the landlord gets the water in his or her name and doesn't have a lease, then it can be hard. One of the ways you can also find that out is if the mailing address for the property taxes is different from the property address. That's one of the things that Jeff Klopsik's office searches for. So it can be a long list, so that kind of enforcement is pretty extensive. It's been an issue for years, but I don't think that addendum would cause more people to register. That's a separate issue that we have that we'll have to continue to try to figure out ways to do that enforcement.
Yeah. And that's just one of the examples of what I'm, the point. We have ordinance on the books that right now we can't even get everybody registered. So to add something else to it, my questions are relative, is this another layer of bureaucracy, that we cannot maybe enforce, that we currently can't get all our rentals registered now, and then for those properties that the land bank does not own, are we able to make contact with those landlords, like the house that Ms. Weiss just mentioned that's next door to her, that's vacant and half boarded up? What does this ordinance do for that?
See, John's making his way up, so let him have a minute here to answer some of the questions.
So just questions. It's not that I'm opposed to it, but I just have a lot of questions that I wanted to have clarified, so we can, make this smart and make sense.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Thanks for giving me an opportunity. As far as the unregistered rentals go, about once every other year, Jeff Klopsik pushes a couple buttons on his computer, sends me a big list of potential unregistered rental properties by looking at homestead exemption, owner's address, water account, things like that. We just did that recently. There were 800 plus or minus properties on that list. We sent out some letters. We got 200 of those that registered just based on the letter, which isn't too bad, but there are 600 people that we're looking for. That process then starts a court proceeding where we issue a citation, and I'm trying to meet with John Van Manskoten, our city prosecutor, to initiate 600 citations en masse. We do this a couple times a year. We spend a lot of time over at the courthouse, and many of those situations get resolved. That number is always changing depending on things change very quickly as far as ownership goes and registration goes. We found we do it every other year or so. It sends a message, the word gets out, and people start registering, because if they go to court, then there's fines and additional things that happen when you go that route. So that is in the process. As far as the crime-free lease addendum, it's like a lot of the other ordinances that we proposed and you guys have approved, such as the dog ordinance. Do we have the staff to enforce the dog ordinance 100% across the board and go find every pit bull that's chained to a tree in the front yard? No, we don't. But we have used that ordinance in many cases to make something happen in certain situations, and have a law that allows us to do some things and cause change to preserve the neighborhoods. That's how I see the crime-free lease addendum working as well. There are situations where we go to the house and inspect it, and the house is actually in good shape, but the people that are living in the house, they don't necessarily follow the rules. They play loud music. They got dogs that drive people crazy. They're drugs, guns, all that stuff, and we can't use our housing rules to cause that change to happen. So in those types of cases, this is one more tool that we can use to cause change to happen and bring peace to that neighborhood again. All these little things that we do sort of add up to one big thing. They give us a big toolbox with a bunch of tools that we can use to make improvements.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, just Since he stepped up. Thanks. So the, okay, so say you have a person and they get 3 citations, right? Serious citations that warrants some action from law enforcement and, expediting this person out, right? Okay, so, and say they get evicted. Now, does this information follow this person or persons only throughout the city, or does it follow them if they go to apply for an apartment in Saginaw Township or wherever around us? That's a question too, because I'm sure if we're kicking folks out, the surrounding communities aren't probably going to be too keen about them coming over there, knocking on their door, and saying, I want to rent a property. So does this information does it flow with that? Does it follow the tenant? Or I'm just asking, how does that work?
We don't necessarily keep tenant records at City Hall. However, the Landlords Association, they do keep a tenant database.
Okay, so they'll have a database.
And that's pretty useful tool to the members of that group. They certainly, I actually had the opportunity to have a house and become a landlord a few years ago, and it was amazing the information that they could tell me about the people that were applying to rent that house. It's very, very good service that they do provide.
Okay. That's already in existence.
Yep.
Right.
Sure is.
Okay. So that's another question there. If things are already in existence, that was one of my questions. If if the landlords have the mechanisms already to enforce unwanted tenants, then what does this do for us? So, I mean, he's got it.
We got to continue.
So,
we got to continue. Is this question directed to?
Yeah, I mean, you just
John?
mentioned that. So they already have a mechanism to enforce unwanted tenants.
Provided that they're in the database, yes.
Provided that they're in the database.
Right.
Okay. So is this going to create another stream of data collecting information that will be in the database, or?
I don't think, as the municipality, we have any intention of creating a database of tenants. That is not part of what's being proposed, no.
Okay. So the information that Jeff is going to gather, where does that information go?
And Jeff would collect the police reports that are generated through the ARM system, the police reporting system. And every time one of these occurrences happen, an email would go out to the property owner so that they're aware that something happened at their property.
To the property owner.
To the property owner, correct.
That's the landlord.
Yes.
Okay. So we are supplying the landlord with data.
Yes.
That's what I.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Is that it for
That
now?
concludes, yes.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so, question. Are we getting into a debate on the ordinance now? So go ahead.
Not any more than what has been going on.
Okay.
I understand clearly how you feel about the ability to enforce. And there are many ordinances I personally have some doubts about too. This one here is worth a shot. If for some reason it doesn't work, we can always change it. But fantastic things been going on for about the past 3 years. The landlords that used to be an enemy have turned into an ally. This has never happened before. In the past 3 years, they've been allies. They want ordinances passed that work just as well as we do. They want bad landlords out of that business because it gives them a bad name. It's a phenomenon that I never thought would happen, that we'd get that kind of support. When it came to the public safety millage, they stepped right up and donated. Donated time, donated signs. They were very, very cooperative, very helpful. But I do have one concern about this document. and it's at the bottom of page 1. Titled under definitions, letter D, local agent shall mean Michigan-based person. A while back, we made an attempt to present an ordinance that deals with a landlord outside of the 30-mile distance had to supply us with an agent. That was put on hold by the previous clerk. She thought they needed a year to determine what the response would be. Saginaw Township has a similar time frame, a distance frame. I think it's 30 or 35 miles. That's not etched in stone. It could be 30 miles. It could be 35 miles. It could be in the county, or it could be by zip code. But that was not addressed. It was discussed in committee meetings, but it wasn't addressed on this, and it's the only issue I have at this time, other than other teeth that could be adopted into this. But for present as it is, I can support this, and I understand your concern, Amos, about the availability to apply. It's easy to pass an ordinance. It's sometimes very difficult to implement it. But it's a tool, and I'm willing to give it a shot and see what happens. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Comments, concerns? Okay, then we're going to...
I see the landlords as an ally. I mean, I see them as a partnership. I mean, in my instance, Saginaw, the city of Saginaw needs a quality rental stock. And the kids here, or the young adults here, are an example of that. I mean, they're going to go to SVSU, they're going to go to CMU, they're going to go to Delta, and they're going to get a job. But just like when I graduated, or I left my parents' house, I wasn't able to buy a home right away. I had to rent. But when I rent, I was a shopper. I had to see what am I getting into. And if we have a quality rental stock, these give these kids options. In addition, it gives CMU medical students an option. It gives the soon-to-be built Delta College students an option. It just gives Saginaw a ability to attract renters who may not even consider Saginaw because they may believe that Saginaw is a certain way. Now, we see Saginaw differently because we live here. But there is a perception out there that Saginaw is totally different. And these kids, or these young adults, they know what Saginaw is about. But if we give them quality options, then that gives Saginaw an opportunity to fight for them as tenants, which increases our tax base. I see this almost as a corporate citizenship type of deal. And we look at Spicer, great corporate citizens, Garber, Shaheen. And the reason why I mention those three companies is because those are large organizations that are part of our city's fabric. Rental properties consist of about 50% of our housing stock in the city. There's 2,200 landlords. I mean, that's a pretty big business, and that's what it is. It's a business. And I think we should regulate that to an extent. And it's also an attractive business. We have pretty inexpensive housing, and it causes issues like Ms. Weiss, where someone will buy a house at a very inexpensive price, they charge rent, and they charge it until taxes are due. They probably don't pay the taxes, but they collect the money on a monthly basis. This is, to me, is what this ordinance is addressed, are the bad landlords. The landlords who either know and don't care, or the landlords who don't know, and we're just not on the radar. As far as I do not want to be a hindrance on productive business in this city, because they do contribute quite a bit to our property tax. And the landlord association is a quality business. And that's why they have the bad renters list and things of that sort. And so I hope they share some of that best practices with other landlords who either don't know or do know and don't care. And that's who I believe this ordinance is addressed to. And I just want to be in competition for these young adults who are soon to be graduates, and the graduates and the students that are coming in, because these individuals will be looking for housing soon. And if we can give them a quality stop, then it gives us options. And it supports things that are already currently happening. Hospec, another quality corporate citizen, they have the Homestead Project. I believe with this ordinance, it helps them sell their program to their employees. They're encouraging employees to live in the city. I think this assists Covenant's Walk to Work program, where they're purchasing a house in the Covenant neighborhood and encouraging their employees to buy homes in that area, so they're walking. So I think that this ordinance helps them to do that as well. I see a benefit. I think we talked about this 9 months. The Saginaw Landlord Association had opportunity to speak. And at the last meeting, what I was ecstatic about is that the 2 landlords that were left, they said that this ordinance will never affect my business. And that's what I wanted, an ordinance that does not affect quality business individuals. I just want to affect those who either don't know and don't care, or those who don't know and just don't have a clue. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments? We're going to hold this over. Go ahead.
Just finally, I mean,
Yep, go ahead.
My point of questioning is basically for information, and not a signal of opposition. And I think it's very important that we understand, all of us understand, that despite who brings an issue to the floor, when there's debate, I'm hoping not taking it as a person as in opposition. And I've learned this from experience, that if you have questions, you better get them out at the appropriate time and have discussion and get some answers, and then you move forward. And my main concern is I want all the same stuff you just mentioned. I think we all do. But you have to understand that to make a promise and not fulfill it is worse than not making a promise at all. That's very realistic. To make a promise and you can't fulfill it, that's where I am. So, we got to be all hands on deck, everybody. And so, I don't want to, if we pass this, I don't want us to eventually see a long list of overtime for this shift or that shift, or folks come and start complaining about, well, we're overworked because we got to do this. You see, I'm looking way ahead. Okay, I'm looking way ahead. So that's how my questions are generated. Like, I've seen this before, not just this, but just in terms of when you say, okay, let's do this, but the repercussions or the down the road effects aren't present. Unless you have that foresight, you could kind of anticipate that. So that's kind of driving my cautious, optimistic attitude that I've learned to appreciate. But I think we all want the same thing. I know we do. So I don't want folks next door to me just raising hell all night and I can't sleep, and cars coming and going and music. I don't want that either. None of us want that. In Saginaw, we do have some great neighborhoods. And, for folks not to think that, they're just misinformed. I was talking to an officer, and I'll close with this, Mr. Mayor. When Officer Stacer was here with that K-9 group, he said, hey, I live in the city. He said it proudly. This is one of our police officers. So, there are other folks. Mr. Mayor, you live in the city. We all live in the city. And there are other staff that live in the city. So for folks to have an attitude that people may not come to the city because they have an impression, well, heck, we're the spokespersons for our city. Neighborhood associations, you do a great job. We're the spokespersons for our city. So I don't even entertain the fact of our city not being accepted. That's not a notion of mine. I don't hold that to be a thought. Our city is accepting. There are bad places in every city in this country, even some of the most affluent cities. There are some bad spots in those places as well. So I just want us to be concerned about the staff, our ability to enforce and follow through, because we all know our complement, our staff complement. And for those of you who have not been around as long as I have, you may not even be thinking that way. But due to my longevity, that adds value to the discussion. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I conclude my comments. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and this will be then laid over. Is that correct? We did not pass this ordinance. Thank you. I want you to understand, we did not pass this ordinance. We're just holding it over for our next council meeting for consideration for passing the ordinance. Okay.
Mayor, your next item of business is resolutions. Our first resolution is to establish an obsolete property rehabilitation district located at 3430 State Street.
And I need a motion to adopt. Been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next one, Madam Clerk.
Your next resolution is to support and participate in the collaborative public education plan for members of the Saginaw Area Storm Water Authority.
Need a motion to adopt? Been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Our final resolution this evening is to support and participate in the collaborative illicit discharge elimination procedure for members of the Saginaw Area Storm Water Authority.
Need a motion to adopt. Been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Is there any miscellaneous business come before this council? Being none, I need a motion to adjourn. Been moved and supported. Is there discussion on the motion? And don't give me a no either, because we'll do roll call and be here forever. All in favor signify by aye. Opposed? Motion carries.